Welcome back to the channel, guys. Episode 2 of the Cali MK1 build. This episode we're going to be going over getting the engine prepped a little bit. In the last episode I talked about how I took the transmission off. So I already cleaned that up, took it off, pulled the clutch off, degreased the engine, and we are going to get on with the engine. So let's do a quick 360 of the engine. You can see it is pretty grimy. I stripped a bunch of stuff off it already. Coolant hoses, the old belt. I took the power steering pump off because I'm not going to be running that. But yeah, you can see this thing is grimy, oily. It's probably not been cleaned in 150,000 miles. So I'm going to be cleaning this thing up today. I have a suspicion that the timing was done in it already. It's got 150,000 miles on it. Previous owner said it ran pretty good. And if you look down here, I was expecting the rear main seal to be leaking when I pulled the clutch off, and it looks pretty good. I may pull the cover off and take a look, but I think it might have already been done. Let's get into cleaning this thing up. Just want to show you real quick what I'll be using. Got some engine degrease, a few brushes, and some rags. Let's see how we get on. So spent about 2 hours cleaning the engine. There's no easy way to do this. You can see, look at my face. It is pretty nasty job, oily, grimy, and there's no good way to do it. Just spraying the degreaser, some brake cleaner. I'm using a pick, shop towels, brushes, just anything you can to clean it. I kind of started at the top, worked my way down, worked my way around all the way to the bottom. Top tip, get some eye protection. You don't want the degreaser splashing back in your face. Not fun, but let's take a look. Let's see where we're at. So another quick 360 of the engine. You can see cleaned up pretty nicely. All these horizontal surfaces were just caked in gunk. You can see how much of a grimy job this was. And you just got to scrape away, brake clean, degreaser, shop towels, brushes, anything you can. Just use the elbow grease. And it came out pretty good. So I'm going to wait for that to dry off again. Might hit some areas again with some brake clean. Some of the threaded areas where the transmission bolts on, I got some gunk in those, so I want to clean those out so I don't strip those holes when I put the transmission back in. Yeah, and let's see what we're up to next. Okay, this is exciting. I've bolted the first new thing to the engine. It's the engine mount from S&P swap kit. Looks pretty sweet. Threw a little bit of grease in that bushing. And the other thing I did was throw on the serpentine belt for the power steering and AC delete. This engine didn't have an AC pump on it. That usually goes right there. Power steering goes there. Some people cut this bracket off just to tidy up a little bit. This engine's gonna come out of the car again at some point. This is just kind of mock up to get it running. So when it comes out for the second time, I'm gonna tidy things up a little bit more. Interesting thing about this belt, you can see it has one less rib than the factory belt. And if you look down here, I think it's to clear that bolt. If it had all the ribs, it would definitely hit that bolt. It's still pretty close. I could pull the washer off of that bolt if I wanted to, but I think I'm gonna run it, see if it rubs or not. Yeah, there we go. So although this engine's pretty high mileage, about 150,000, I think it's been pretty well maintained. You can see it's had the coolant pipe there, also known as the crack pipe replaced. That's an aluminum one. I think the factory one is plastic. You can see it's got blue coolant hoses there. All the other coolant hoses on the engine were blue as well. And the thermostat housing right here has a Melee stamp on it right there. So I think somebody has been in here once before and given it a little refresh. So let's take a look at some of the other stuff I've got to go on the engine. Pendulum mount or dog bone mount. Got the transmission mount. Got the cable clutch to replace the hydraulic clutch. Got some bolts. Got the clutch in the box. And I'm gonna try and get the Tectonics tuning downpipe on it too. Okay gang, spent about 3 hours working on the VR6. Let's take a look, see what I got up to. So the transmission is bolted back to the engine. I installed the new clutch. I have the S&P trans mount here. Shout out to S&P, by the way. These guys produce some really nice stuff. I have the bracket in here for the cable actuated clutch, the old hydraulic piston. Take that off, put this one in its place. Just need to double check the orientation of this bracket. It's still loose right now. These bolts as well, I might have to get longer ones. The threads don't quite come through. If you've installed this kit, drop me a comment. Let me know what you did here. And then coming around the back, I didn't quite put the downpipes on yet. I cleaned the threads up though on the studs. One of them I might need to replace. It's a little bit stripped. I think it's gonna be easier to put the downpipe on just before it goes in the car or just after. Same thing for the dog bone mount, the pendulum mount. That bolts on the back of the diff here. So a little bit easier to do that when the engine is not on the engine hoist. So I think I'm gonna wrap this episode up here. Not much more I can do to the VR6 with it out of the car right now. Everything is bolted to it that I can. So next episode, gonna pull that diesel out, drop this one in. I know I said I wanted to get it done in this episode, but I'm gonna save that for the next one. Once again, please like, subscribe, drop me a comment, share these videos if you're enjoying the content. Drop me a comment below if you see something that I'm missing. First time I've ever done this. I'm kind of new to this, learning as I go along. So please drop me a comment, let me know what's up, and I will see you next time.